Welcome everyone, my name is Krista Brown. Welcome to the Free Soil Arts Collective's Vital Voices series. This is a 6-part series that we launched in 2020. Really excited to bring it back with featured artist Gwendolyn Lanier. A little bit about Free Soil. We are a nonprofit arts organization with a mission to amplify voices and stories of color through the arts. The Vital Voices series is a 6-part series where each month we highlight a different artist of color from our own community, creating a platform for them to share their story and for the community to get to meet some new, current, up-and-coming, and successful artists. I want to especially thank our presenting sponsor, Enterprise Bank, for being the sponsor of this series for 2 years in a row. Thank you so much for your support in making this possible. And I also want to encourage all of you out there to follow the Free Soil Arts Collective on social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Connect with us and let us know other content that you want to see. And I also want to encourage you to follow our featured artist, Gwendolyn Lanier, on Instagram at Gwendolyn, that's GWENDOLYN_LANIER, and also learn more about her at GwendolynLanier.com. So before we get started, Gwendolyn, I'm going to share a little bit about you with our audience. Gwendolyn is a visual artist based in Lowell, Massachusetts, who creates sublime figurative art depicting the divine female experience and form through narratives that challenge the preconceived notions of reality. In 2009, Lanier received her Bachelor of Fine Arts from the School of the Museum of the Fine Arts, Tufts University in Boston. Lanier was the recipient of the 2009 Albert Pratt Traveling Grant, which enabled her to study ceramic figurative art in Florence, Italy. Subsequent to graduating from the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts post-baccalaureate program in 2012, Lanier's work shifted to include two-dimensional mediums. Gwendolyn Lanier's work has been on display at Woman Made Gallery in Chicago, Pittsburgh Center for the Arts during the 2008 NCECA conference, The Painted Bride in Philadelphia, and other venues throughout the East and West Coast. She's currently a studio artist at the Brush Gallery and Studios in Lowell and an artist member at the Attleboro Arts Museum. Welcome, Gwendolyn.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Great.
So we're going to jump right in. For people out there who may not know you, who are you?
I am a warrior goddess artist.
Yes! How did art find you? How did you kind of discover this about yourself?
Well, the credit to that goes to my dad for sure. He put on Bob Ross. And this is when I was 6 years old. Yeah. And so when I saw, this is the first time I've ever seen anyone create artwork, and he made it look so effortless. And it felt like a magical power, like a superhuman magical power, to have a blank canvas and have it manifest into like this really beautiful, sublime scenery. And then I told my dad, like, I want to do that. And he was like, well, I got to draw every day. So, I'm going to my room and I'm like drawing on like everything, including the walls.
And how old were you again when that kind of started for you?
I was 6, yeah.
6?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You say that kind of later in your career that the Essex Art Center in Lawrence was like kind of a big incubator for you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, because I got sick of drawing on walls and lined paper, and I wanted to get my hands on some art supplies. And I remember it's kind of like a spiritual moment for me. I, said a prayer, and I'm like, God, please send me someone so I can get my hands on art supplies. And lo and behold, the next day, so it felt like my prayers were answered. A representative from the Essex Art Center came through my classroom, and they had a program called the Drop-In Center. And I needed moral support while going there, so I asked my sisters. To come along with me. And so we and a bunch of other kids got to go there once a week. It started off like once or twice a week, and then we just continually just came every day because we loved it so much. And the program is expanded. They gave us a bigger space. They exposed me to so much art. They took me on field trips to museums and galleries and artist studios. I had my first solo show there.
Wow.
Called Artist Poetry when I was like about 16.
Wow.
They definitely really supported. I got great mentorship. they taught me how to sell work, how to show it, how to develop a professional portfolio.
Wow. And do you teach there today? Is that right?
Yes.
And what do you teach again?
I teach drawing, and I also teach ceramics. Yep, I teach both adults and children.
Wonderful. Yeah. So everyone, Essex Arts Center, another wonderful local resource in Lawrence. Amazing. So what would you say, with the work you've created thus far, you probably said many different things, but what do you think is kind of the main message you're trying to push out there?
The main message I'm trying to push out there is I talk a lot about spirituality and meditation in my work, especially now, a lot more lately. Just with the divine feminine, I'm trying to tap into that intuitive, emotional, and creative part of my life. So those are the messages I kind of seek through. I do it through a lot of different archetypes, like the warrior, the mother, the goddess, the witch, the wise woman, and all that.
It's beautiful. So for those of you out there who haven't seen Gwendolyn's work before, we're going to show you all some. We're going to start with your piece called Incontinado. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I actually created that in the beginning of the pandemic. And if you notice that she has a chained mask on her face, because that's what it definitely felt like to everyone, and especially me, to feel like you were kind of like incarcerated behind a mask and stuff like that.
The next one we have is Dea della Luna.
It's goddess of the moon. It's what it's called. And she has on her forehead, she has a moon-shaped chain. And I use moon symbology in my work a lot. It connects to the feminine.
Beautiful. Then we have Illuminati.
It translates to enlighten me. This goes back to like my meditative practices. The hands are reaching up and through a mandala. Now mandalas are symbols of completeness and wholeness. So it's just my attempts to express that I'm reaching. That's what I'm reaching towards.
It's beautiful. And then we have Earth's Witness.
Earth's Witness. That's actually the name of the hand mudra. So when you're in meditation, you position your hands to kind of stimulate development in those areas. So this is that. So it's about
beautiful. Yeah. And then we have Aligned Within.
Yes. Well, that's just more. It all goes back to meditation as well. The figure's eyes are closed, and from her forehead, a mandala is like protruding out of her forehead. So it's just about being centered.
Yes. And the one I've seen a lot of, Amaryllis, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah. That was a little bit of a turn. I was focused on, the flowers. What they symbolize is strength. And as you can notice, like her face is very like stern and powerful. Her chin is kind of lifted up. So that's just kind of more of an expression of like how I was feeling at the time. Because the pandemic was really tough, I think, for everybody. And, being a single parent and having to, be strong for everybody around me was something that I was really focused on. So this was kind of like my banner for that.
Amazing, just the stuff sometimes can come out of hard times. I just want to acknowledge that because this work is beautiful.
Thank you.
We then have a couple more. The next one is called Datura.
That one was specifically created for an exhibit at the Attleboro Arts Museum. Called Skaya, the Ugly Truth Revealed, and it was in sponsorship through the ENA, which is like their book club, and it tells the story of Circe, and she is a witch. I don't know if you ever heard of like Homer's Odyssey. She's a character in that. Her act of turning Skaya into a monster is with the molly root. So I have the vines going around her hands, and her act is bound. Sorry.
Good.
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
I just want to get it right.
Yeah.
Get it right. Her act of turning her into a monster had caused her to be exiled. So it was like, even though she found her power through transformative magic, she was also condemned as well. So it was like the two figures were emerging from each other. So they were bound together. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Then we have Verita Nascosta.
Yeah, that's called Hidden Truth. Sensuality is also, a component of, the divine feminine as well. And we are told to like mask it, to hide it. So in this instance, the figure is embracing it. And so it's also about the, female gaze and stuff like that.
Beautiful. And finally, we have Dualita. Tell us about that.
I'm sorry, I got the wrong.
Oh, you're good.
No.
I hope I said the right thing. It might come up for us. I think it's Dualita. I might be wrong. Or maybe that's our last one.
Yeah, but that's this one.
Oh, yes. Well, Gwendolyn, hey. Well, thank you so much. With your work, you talked a lot about meditation, the divine feminine, like sensualness. How does it kind of impact your design process? Like, what's the first step you take with creating something new?
Well, my work is very process driven. There is a lot of content in it, but the materials I use are very important. They tell a story. They're a visual language. So, and I call the charcoal, pastel, and graphite my triad of materials. They all kind of uniformly work together. So the charcoals, the blackness, that's where creation begins. And through what emerges from it is the figure, which is done in the pastel. And then the graphite it's kind of the spiritual aspect of the work. So a lot of what, like the mandalas, the filigree, and the mask, those are all done in the graphite. I'm trying to give a visual of what is unseen, because it's hard to talk about the spirit because you can't see the spirit. So, I work the graphite in there to tell that story. I'm also into magical realism as well. And the graphite kind of sits on top of the surface, and it's a visual effect. So, it's a visual effect. So, the graphite looks like it's floating on top of the surface of the piece. So if I render it in a certain way, I can make it actually look like, it's creating movement, because the light picks up the light. And some instances you might walk past it, you won't even see the graphite, and then you'll walk into a certain direction, and then it'll just like appear. So it kind of feels like magic is happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just like poetic.
Yeah.
Hearing you speak about it. So now, I guess today you're further along in your career, if that's the right word, as an artist. What are some things that you may have told your younger self before embarking on this journey?
One thing I definitely wish I learned more of in the past is about business. I'm really trying to understand marketing, and really trying to keep myself organized and investing in myself, so that I can utilize the opportunities that come up.
Amazing. For folks watching, just to remind you, you can also put questions in the comments, and at the end we will do Q&A. So just put that out there. You also mentioned with your journey that you studied ceramics in Florence, Italy. Now, I'm someone who doesn't even have their passport yet, so that sounds beautiful to me. What was that like for you personally and for your work?
Well, it was, I put it on my vision board when I was 12, that I wanted to go to Italy and I wanted to study at La Meridiana in Città Alto. And so I got this opportunity to write a grant for it. So for me, it was just an accomplishment in general, because I don't know very many people who have traveled outside the country. And, you know, it was a childhood dream. So for me, it just gave me that boost of confidence that I can do this. I can pursue this. And it was great to actually be around people who are different. You know, lifestyle is different. They have a siesta in the middle of the day. Like, they take time to rest, you know, and, you know, the United States, we don't really do that. We're always on the go. So it was good just to be in a different environment and, you know, learn the language and to get to see the artwork that I studied for so long. I got to see Michelangelo's David. Wow. And the pictures of it doesn't do justice to how prolific the sculpture is. It's enormous. So I don't know, it just felt like I was living in a dream. And honestly, a lot of the architecture that's there, you feel like you're on a movie set, to be honest. Yeah.
Wow. What would you say is your proudest accomplishment? Or maybe you have more than one?
I definitely have a lot. Coming from my background, to be able to do something like art, it's not normal to people. You know, everyone's like, oh, get a real job. But, you know, I kind of like stuck with it. So I have a lot of accomplishments, but I think writing a grant and getting a grant was definitely the best moment, because I'm not the strongest writer and I get anxiety even just thinking about having to do it, and they're very competitive. So I think that's my biggest one.
Yeah, grants are not a joke
at
all. I know with that, to me, is kind of one piece of putting yourself out there as an artist and kind of validating your work. What advice do you have for other artists out there who are doing incredible stuff but don't know how to get their word out there about what they're doing?
The best thing that I've done for myself is invest in myself, to make sure that I, you know, give myself the time to create. And as for putting my work out there, I had to join memberships to different galleries and museums. You know, they have opportunities for their members to show and display their artwork. And that's an easy in. Even if you don't have experience, you gain experience by trial and error by doing that. So I would definitely advise doing that. And keeping organized. You never know when an opportunity is going to just pop up out of nowhere. So to have like your portfolio, your artist statement, your CV, and, you know, bio on handy, it comes in handy.
Yeah, that's great. With everything you talked about as just being a very spiritual person, I'm curious about what your philosophy is on living life, but also kind of being a business owner. What's your view on that?
For me, it's whatever I do, wherever I go, take my heart with me, because my passion is what keeps me motivated at the end of the day. Yeah, that's the philosophy I could basically live by. I mean, you know, I get nervous, I get scared, I feel like sometimes I can't do things, but if I know that my passion is still there for what I do, I'm never going to give up, because there's been moments where life happens and I had to, you know, put art on pause for a while, but, you know, it's my calling, so it kind of like, it's like, hey, Gwendolyn, excuse me, I'm over here. You see this pile of canvases? Get to it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's beautiful. So what is bringing you joy right now?
Meditation. It's keeping me centered. In prayer as well. You know, we are always constantly on the go all the time, so it's really good to bring myself back and remind myself that, you know, that quiet time is good. just being able to relax is good, because I definitely have a hard time with that. And spending time with my kids as well.
Do you mind, I'm kind of adding something here. Do you mind sharing a bit about your meditative practice? Do you, early in the morning, late at night, like how have you fit it into your life?
The more you do it, the more you can fit it in at any given moment in your life. I like listening to sleep meditation. So as I'm going to sleep, it helps put me to sleep because my mind is kind of really active because I have so much to like think about during the day. So it helps, rest. And just if I'm ever feeling like I'm anxious or anything, I'll take a moment, I'll take deep breaths, and I'll just focus on the mandala, creating the mandala in my head. And that's usually how I get there.
Oh, that's beautiful. So what's next for you right now at this part of your journey?
Oh, man, well, I have some things in the works. It's a surprise. It's for later. Hopefully, I'm crossing fingers that it would actually everything will work out. But I'm definitely going to focus more on sculpture. I have the opportunity to get back into it. My degree is in sculpture, so I'm definitely miss doing ceramics, but now I have the access to actually get pieces fired and the time to do it. So yeah, look forward to some sculptures, and they kind of all resemble dualita a little bit, so they're really complicated. And I'm hoping to incorporate light with that as well.
Oh, can't wait to see it, really. So with you mentioned earlier some of your pieces came out in the middle of the pandemic, and some people would call the time we're in now kind of this renewed focus on historical acts of violence against Black and brown people. It's just a very tumultuous time. It's been a tumultuous time. How has your creating been affected by that? Do you feel as though you're approaching pieces differently, or is it kind of the same process you had before?
A little bit of the same. My work's not really politically charged. It's more based in fantasy and stuff like that. But I feel like I have a duty to represent people of color and show their strength and their beauty. So I've been really focusing on that, and I've been kind of studying, African culture a lot more, and incorporating those symbols into my work and stuff like that.
Beautiful. So this series, as you know, we're making space for artists of color in the area. I'm curious about what that kind of means to you. You kind of touched upon it earlier, but I also want to emphasize that people of color are not a monolith. So we all don't think the same. Art doesn't do the same thing for everybody. Yeah. But being an artist of color in Lowell, what does that mean to you? Do you feel like you have a sort of mission underneath the work that you do? Do you feel as though being here as an artist holds a different weight than, say, if you were in a different area?
Not so much. I feel the same everywhere I go, because usually I'm one of few Black people in the environments that I am. Yeah. So I've gotten used to being that. But yeah, we are very diverse people, and we deserve to be seen, and we don't. I had a person come into my studio and say, "Why aren't you doing urban art, or why aren't you talking about this in your art?" And I'm like, well, I don't want to talk about those things, and nor should I have to. I shouldn't be put into a box. Yep. So as far as visibility, we just want our voices heard. Yep. And that's all of us. We go through experiences just like everyone else does. Yep.
How can the community best support you as an artist, both here, the nation?
Well, liking and sharing my work with people who actually, who want to see it and might be interested in it. I teach classes at the Essex Art Center, so those of you interested in learning how to use charcoal, how to sculpt, I'm here to, teach that. So, yeah, and buy something. No, just
But yes.
Yeah.
How can folks connect with you who want to work with you or support you?
Oh, the SSR Center is a great place. Their email address, their website is ssrcenter.org.
Okay.
So you can see my classes that I have at any given time. I have a studio at the Brush Art Gallery, and it's open to the public.
Yay.
And sometimes you might even see me there.
Cool.
And be able to talk one-on-one. You see my works in progress as well, and also my completed works. Myself and my oldest son are in the BIPOC at the Brush exhibition, so you can see his photographs there.
Amazing.
And some of my pieces as well. So,
Amazing.
Just come check it out.
Yes, and more info on that, freesoularts.org, or if you check out Gwendolyn's social media, more information on that exhibit. I'm going to see we have Q&A on our YouTube page, but while I do, I'd love for you to talk about what it's like to see your son kind of take up the arts and what that's like for you to see.
I mean, all my kids are very creative. Like, they see what I do, so they're inspired by it. So it's good to see that I've had that positive influence in him, that he would want to, put it out there. It was fun trying to sit down and write an artist statement with him, and and just organize the pieces. I was very OCD about it a little bit, probably more than he was, but it's good to see that, he has an outlet.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. And we're getting lots of love in the social medias. Thanks everyone for joining. Wonderful. People cannot wait to see your sculptures, just so you are aware. So I'll give folks out there, you want a couple minutes to ask questions, just let us know, comment in the Q&A section on our YouTube channel. So Gwendolyn, before we wrap, when you think about the future and what you want your work to say for generations, what maybe is your biggest hope with your work?
I hope to inspire people to create. I think creation it's very important. It's helped me through so much trauma. It helps me stay focused. That's why I teach. Augusta Savage is one of my favorite artists, and she had experience. She was a very talented artist, but from the time period that she was creating her artwork, it wasn't possible for her to always get her work seen. And how she tried to defy that as she taught other artists how to create artwork and how to show their work. So, she left her legacy that way, and I'm hoping to continue to leave my legacy that way as well. Hopefully I'll have my own art center or something, or my own gallery someday. I like to inspire others.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you for your time today. Thank you. And thanks all of you for joining us today. Again, you can learn more about Gwendolyn on her social media at Gwendolyn_Lanier or GwendolynLanier.com. I also want to give a special thanks to Enterprise Bank for sponsoring this series and making it possible for us to highlight such magical artists like Gwendolyn from our own community. As we mentioned before, you can join us on Saturday at 2:00. We're having a virtual reception for BIPOC artists at the Brush, which is an exhibit featuring the work of Gwendolyn alongside 8 other local artists of color. Really excited. You can be in your pajamas. It's going to be a magical time. And then stay tuned for activities we have next month. We're going to be spotlighting local rapper Chitashi, and then having a panel discussion with all 6 artists on February 19th at the Middlesex Community College. So really excited about that. Stay tuned. Thank you all for joining us.